Welcome to the Find Your Flow podcast. Hello and welcome, Elizabeth Mintun, to Find Your Flow. How are you?
Good, thanks. I'm so happy to be here.
Well, I'm thrilled to pieces to have you here, and I can't wait for you to share your story and your expertise and your knowledge on forest bathing. I'm very, very excited for this. But let's kick this off with my one and only question. One and only prepared question.
Uh-huh.
What does Find Your Flow mean to you?
So, it's interesting. I think in a very succinct way, how I can answer this question is that for me, finding my flow means returning to the moment and just allowing myself to open to myself as I am and the moment as is. And that would be my very succinct answer. But if I expound on it a little bit more, I think, in my life, I'm a psychotherapist, I am a mindful life coach, and but before I became a coach and before I dabbled into the whole present moment, really grounding in mindfulness piece, I was in psychotherapy. I was practicing as a therapist. I still am, but I was missing the self-care piece. I was missing routines that were in part of my everyday life that just brought me back. And they didn't. And to me, in my mind, if I was going to do that, it needed to be much bigger. Like I needed to meditate for a half an hour, a day or something that felt very unmanageable at the time because I had little kids and all the things. So I think that for me, where I really learned to find my flow was to begin to delve into different kinds of practices that could bring me back into the moment and that could easily be integrated into my life. And that's where I really feel like I started finding my flow. So I'm happy to talk more about that, but I'll pause there for a second in case you have any questions.
I mean, questions? Yeah, absolutely. But a comment and something that I'd like to point out to everyone listening, you specifically said that you started to incorporate things that were easy, that didn't necessarily have to take up a huge chunk of your time. And I think that that's so important to sort of pause and reflect on that, because I do think there's this misconception that people need to spend hours or, you know, go climb the side of a mountain and live like a monk. And that's just not realistic, nor nor do I think that that's necessary. I
No.
really don't. I think our natural state of being is one of figuring out what works for us and then sort of putting that into action. So what were some of the things?
Yeah. So it actually started this whole journey for me because um, some people had mentioned, like, I always loved the outdoors, so that was one thing. And then somebody had mentioned qigong, which is like a form of moving
Mhm.
meditation, and I kind of like looked into it a little bit and let it go. Like I just wasn't yoga. I had done, like, I had gone to yoga classes. I had this idea that maybe I wanted to go to a retreat, but again, that's money and that's time, and I just didn't feel like I had a lot of that at the time. Especially being a mom of young children, and at the time too. So. So for me, where it started, first I started going back outdoors and taking walks, and from there I learned about forest bathing, and it's called Shinrin Yoku as well. And so that's got me looking into, well, what is that, and how might I learn more about that and integrate it into my life. And so I started reading about it. It's a practice that started in Japan, and actually in Japan, and I believe also in South Korea, they actually prescribe it. Like doctors will prescribe it, right?
Yeah.
To like work, because it's so important for us to go outside and find, and for a lot of other reasons too. But part of that is to slow down and reconnect with the natural world. But then also there's for amongst trees, even for 60, 90 minutes, there's NK fighter cells that help with our immunity that are transported through the air. And so, like, there's a lot of both physical benefit in terms of just being outside and around, really, like, this on the cellular level, like it helps boost our immunity, but then also mental health wise, it's really helpful too. So anyway, I ended up going and getting trained in actually in Costa Rica, in a program that's called ANFT. It's based in the United States, but they do a lot of trainings all over the world. And I learned about forest bathing, and I loved that. And I could talk more. Go into it a little bit, but what I loved about what I learned in that training program and how I've kind of integrated into my practice now here is that it is this concept of reciprocity. So I think a lot of times in just how we're taught, right? Like it's almost like a tree is there as almost like a commodity, like or
Yeah.
a rock. Like,
Yeah.
we can cut it down, we can use its wood, we can sit on a rock or we can throw rocks, but it's not a sense of like these are beings that we can be in relationship with on a deeper level. And so that's something that I loved about forest bathing is talking about flow. There is a sense of like, I can be, um, you know, outside and recognizing that right now what I so need is just the stability of a rock. And I can find one and bring it to my heart, right? Or bring it to my cheek or my belly or whatever, or sit against it, right? And that is a relationship I'm having with a rock. And it shifts a little bit the idea that these are like in the idea of forest bathing, and this is true in a lot of indigenous cultures as well, that everything in the natural world, sun, sky, rocks, twigs, soil, it all like has a sense of spirit. And so we can be in
Yeah.
relationship with and connection with. And so for me, finding forest bathing and becoming a guide, but then also realizing like I can go on guided walks and I can guide experiences and I can go outside for 5 minutes and feel the breeze and welcome the breeze as my friend who's here and supporting me. And as I am, sitting and being supported by the breeze or the rock or whatever, the tree, whatever it is, that there's a relationship there. So we are in relationship. I am supporting as well. And I think it really shifts at least for me, my sense of the natural world that now I'm in a relationship and we are the rock supporting me, I'm supporting the rock. This breeze is supporting me. And by allowing and being present to the breeze, I am supporting the spirit of the breeze, like that kind of idea. It's really cool. So as I was getting out and like really enjoying that, then I started finding my flow there. And then again, it's accessible anytime, anywhere. And then I grew from there, also explored Qigong much more, became a certified Qigong teacher, and that's a form of moving meditation. And that, again, I brought into the outdoors too. So
Mhm.
integrating these little practices every day, I mean, it changed my life, and I recognized like, oh my goodness, no, I don't have to go. I mean, retreats are beautiful and they're wonderful, and sometimes it's lovely to get away, but I don't have to spend all that money and all that time to have a sense of peace with me wherever I go. And that was something that I just didn't know was possible before this.
Ugh. I mean, I now wanna run outside. I go out into nature every single day. It is my prescription. It's like my addiction. I need it as much as I need, blood flowing through my veins. I absolutely need it, and there's this one trail that we walk on, which I find to be very humorous and will, at times, just yell out to no one. It says, this is a wireless walk. And it's interesting to be among nature, wandering through the forest with a beautiful stream, and you see deer and all wildlife, and then see this sign wrapped in plastic stapled to a tree. This is a wireless walk. And I find the humor in that we need to actually be reminded that turn it off.
Yeah.
Right. And quite often, my husband and I will see people blaring music and blaring music at the beach or blaring music in the forest or wherever, and we're like, wow, they're missing the point. They're missing the point of the language that is spoken, the song that is sung, just by being in nature, by what nature has to share with us and teach us and tell us, the stories that are shared with us. It's just utterly amazing. And I'd say like maybe a month ago, for the very first time, I was caught out in the forest in a rainstorm. I'd never in my life experienced that before. And we heard the thunder rolling in. We saw the clouds coming in. There was no lightning, so we just figured it's okay. We're safe. to be, oh my God, under the canopy of lush green trees, to hear the rain but not necessarily feel it. That in and of itself was a miracle to me. And all I could do was smile. I must have looked like a lunatic, which made me giggle even more because here's this woman standing out in the rain, not really wet, but smiling. And it was strictly because I was being given a gift of like, all I could imagine was these raindrops are confetti and this is a celebration of life all around me. And how beautiful is that?
Yeah, it's so interesting that you mentioned that because in forest bathing, rain is also considered to be welcome. When I plan walks and it rains, a lot of times people think, "Oh, well, is it going to be canceled?"
Right.
And of course, if there is lightning, if there is flooding, if there's like a safety concern, okay, for sure.
Right.
But there and so often when we do forest bathing in the rain, there is that shift in like a sense of, oh, I don't need to take cover necessarily. I can welcome this as my friend, as my teacher. I can welcome the maybe what it means to me in this moment is a celebration. Maybe what it means to me in this moment is a cleanse, right? Maybe it means I'm
Mm,
feeling a lot of sorrow and the sky is supporting the like showering of my sorrow.
yes.
So there's so many ways that we can be supported um, by having this connection with the outdoors. And again, it's available to us. I mean, maybe if you're in a situation where you're very much in an urban setting, don't really have a lot of access to green space, it might be trickier. But even then, I mean, you can go and find a flower box. You can find a tree
Yeah.
on a
Yeah.
sidewalk, and you can find the sky anytime, anywhere. And then if that's hard, if for some reason, you have to stay indoors, you're for whatever reason. I mean, they've done a lot of research even in hospitals that when they bring in plants or if they bring in even just
Hmm.
pictures of wildlife, it shifts people's capacity to heal. And so yes, I think that's so beautiful, your story of going out in the woods and then it raining and then just allowing the embrace and the celebration of that experience inside you and also in relationship with. It's awesome.
So I'm not crazy.
No, I think that's great. No, I love it.
When I saw your bio, I was like, "Oh, yay, I finally get to find out if I'm like, am I just one of these tree hugging hippie freaks? Am I that person? Have I somehow fallen into that category?" But I don't feel like a freak. I feel like a totally normal human being who just happens to love nature and get a lot from nature.
Yeah, right. And I think it's great that you are tapped in and aware of that. I mean, I think that in a lot of ways we're taught, like and conditioned, right, that we are supposed to not get dirty and we're supposed to,
Right.
right. Yeah. Like there's a sense of, I think when people stay in a lot of, and again, nothing, I'm not dogging air conditioning. I think it has its place and it's important. But I think when we're cool and kept in cool places all the time, just right now in summertime, when we go outside, it can feel like that contrast is sweltering, right? And
Oh
so it
yeah.
can feel because our bodies are acclimated to be cool. And so I think sometimes just allowing ourselves, like if you notice, for example, if you're somebody who's an indoor person and you spent a lot of times in very cold indoors and don't go out much, and you notice like, man, I just can't stand the heat, maybe allow yourself to breathe. If it's not a medical condition, right? Breathe and then invite it in. What is the heat trying to tell me right now? What's the sun? What is there a message I could get from the sun right now? And even if it's just 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10, whatever you can
Hmm.
handle, but inviting that reconnection in, for sometimes we can, if we just allow ourselves again, if it's not going to be a hazard to our health medically, if if heat is okay with you, like, or water, rain, like, can I lean into the discomfort of this stretch because I haven't been connecting to the natural world much and long enough to allow the flow, to allow my exhale. Because a lot of times people will
Oh,
tense up.
yes.
Yeah.
I love that you're mentioning that because I do experience that every single spring into summer. I'm not a person who's comfortable in extreme temperatures, period, either direction. I'm just not comfortable, but it's very much prevalent when I transition from spring to summer. And I have an allergic reaction to overexposure to sun. I wind up with hives. I can get anaphylactic, not to the point of hospitalization, but definitely to the point of, how about we get you inside?
Mhm.
Um, and what I discovered though was this, I guess, microdosing on
Yeah.
temperature,
Yeah.
microdosing on sun, and my skin doesn't freak out. And it's exactly what you just said. I will literally, first hot day, go outside and it's like hitting a wall. Oof. Oh my God, it's so hot. It's so humid. This is horrific. Okay, wait a second. I'm starting to ease up. I'm starting to not have shallow breathing. I'm starting to actually feel the air get back down into my diaphragm and
Mhm.
start to come from a deeper place. And I'm able to spend longer periods of time outside in the sun. Now, if I'm shaded, I'm not comfortable. I'm not one who likes to sweat, but there's also this little bit of pride in breaking a sweat and then like sweating profusely. There's
Mhm.
this, ooh, I didn't realize I had that much in me. I didn't realize I had that many toxins maybe in me. I didn't realize that I could release that much. And there is this little bit of joy, this little bit of, "Atta girl." And now and then I'll take a shower. But
Yep. Yep. Yep.
but I love that, this little microdosing on nature. Even when we lived in the city, we no longer live in the city, but we lived in DC. And even living there in the middle of all the hustle bustle, there's a park. There's a tree-lined street, and they exist. You go anywhere, New York and all the major cities, you can find, you're absolutely correct. You can find a park, you can find a tree, you can literally go outside and look up and see the sky.
Mhm.
And it has an impact. It has a major impact. Oh my God. So how do you bring all of this back to the calming ground? And listener, when I saw the words, the calming ground, that I still get full body chills because I'm like, um, yes, please and thank you. Yeah, yes, may I have another? But Elizabeth has a podcast called The Common Ground, and she has a community called The Common Ground. So could you maybe give me a little bit of understanding? Where did The Common Ground come from, and what do you have to offer?
Yeah. So, as I was journeying through kind of figuring out, oh my goodness, like if I don't, this doesn't have to be so drastic as I was thinking. I can find my flow, to use your words, right? Anytime I need it. That was really
Mm,
like mind blowing to me because I just didn't feel like that was possible. So then I thought, well, I want to share this, right? I want to offer other people this experience too. And so from that came the common ground. And I started the podcast, I started around, I guess, a little bit after I started the community. And so the podcast is just every week they're little, sometimes I do interviews, sometimes I do solo episodes. And so they range in duration, but it's all about different areas where maybe we might tense up or maybe we might hold tension, and allowing ourselves to kind of come back into both it's okay, like let's meet ourselves where we are and invite ourselves to ground and calm. And then the community, I started a membership for women, primarily because what I noticed was I know that men and women and anywhere in between, like we all struggle with stress, and that's real. There's that's I'm not saying only women do. And I also noticed that there's something about um, how women in particular are taught, I think, to shoulder a lot of caretaking and
mhm.
caregiving and maybe push our needs to the side on behalf of. And again, I'm making a big generalization here, but often this is the case. And so I started a membership for women specifically on really inviting women to ground and calm through weekly, what I call nuggets, and different weekly offerings. And then I also have group coaching. I do a stress resilience. That one's coming up, actually, start opening up again, where I do a 6-week reset, just kind of really working on the foundations of building resilience. And forest bathing and Qigong are interwoven along with other mindfulness techniques throughout all of my offerings. And I talk about forest bathing in the podcast as well. And it might be either through invitations, like different ideas about invitations to go outside, and you might consider this, or you might try that. I lead forest bathing experiences as well. I'm just starting retreats, but again, you don't have to have a retreat, but if you want to get away and give yourself that space, and I'm just starting to offer that too. But so yeah, so the forest bathing, the natural world connection, and the coming back to the present moment and finding that resonance for you. If natural world is your resonance, go with that. If breath work is or creative expression is, go with that.
Mhm.
Go with where your resonance and energy is, and then just kind of really just nourishing that little by little, just fanning those flames just a little bit each
Ugh,
day, and how it can grow that calm and the grounding that we just need so desperately. Yeah.
I mean, absolutely. By chance, do you happen to offer a recorded, maybe a podcast episode on guiding someone through a forest bathing where it's generalized enough where I know that I won't go to the wireless walk, but maybe I could enter into a different path, plug in with the AirPods here and listen to maybe what you're guiding.
Oh, that's such a cool idea. So I've done that with a membership, but and with podcasting, I talk about forest bathing. But Lisa, that's an idea. I could offer that because
I think it would be beautiful. Your voice is so amazing. And
uh,
I've listened to podcast episodes, and it's literally from the first syllable, I go, oh,
hmm.
I sigh, and I go, yes, please. And I'm just gonna, curl up here and listen.
That's very kind. Well, yeah, it's a really good idea to offer the kind of guided, and even if you could do it either way, you could either take it with you, or you could listen to it ahead of time and see what's resonating. One of the
Oh.
beauties of forest bathing is that there's kind of a sequence structure. So like
Hmm.
there's a arrival, there's a crossing the threshold kind of ritual where you move from, right, yeah, like maybe the parking lot or wherever the cement
Hmm.
is into the natural ground, and there's a process for that. And then there's a kind of grounding, centering, still part of the sequence, and then a slow moving
Come
passage.
on.
It's awesome. And yeah, and then from there you tailor invitations to where, like, what's around you and what you're feeling. So
Hmm.
in that part, there's a lot of opening. So for example, if you're somewhere near water, you might do a water invitation, or if you're somewhere that's full of trees, or maybe you're in a meadow and it's a field and there's an expanse. So we can tailor invitations to the landscape that you're in. And also what you're needing right now. What kind of connection are you really needing right now? Because sometimes we need open sky, big, broad horizon connection.
Yeah.
And sometimes we need canopy and close to the ground connection. And so, there's all kinds of ways to work with the moment you're in and really meeting yourself and allowing yourself to be as you are, and the relationship possibilities that are surrounding you in the landscape. So I could definitely offer all, like, different possibilities of invitations based on, where you are. It's a great idea. I'll work on that.
Well, it's like a choose your own adventure.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
if you're standing at the threshold, where are you headed? Are you
Yes.
headed to an open field? Are you headed we go to there's this one place that we like to go to, and it's literally you leave the parking lot, and it's for me it's an immediate um exploration of senses
Mm.
because the crunch of the gravel under my feet, listening to how the pattern of my footstep actually changes. There's eagerness in the beginning that starts to settle into a rhythm that is right, harmonized with my heartbeat, and my breathing falls into alignment. And then it's a winding path that takes us to a bridge. And more often than not, I stop and I look over into the water to hear, how is the water behaving today? Is it fast? Is it slow? Can I hear it? Is it quiet? Is it loud? Um, and then we cross over the bridge and there's a dirt path. So the crunch of the gravel changes, right? And now
Mhm.
you've got this cushion sound where I go, oh, now it's a softness. It's as if I like landed in carpeting. It's just amazing. And we get to choose. Do you take the path along the stream? Do you go up towards the open farm? Because there's a perimeter of a farm. Do you want to go see horses? Do you want to go see cows? Do you want to literally, and I've done this, I've literally thought maybe I'm just going to follow where the fox has been, because you can see droppings and you can
Mm,
see discarded berries. And that in and of itself is an exploration. You get
yeah,
to imagine what it was like to be that animal, right? And to see what path did that animal take and what was that animal exploring. So it's like this, we could go to the same place every single day. And it is a different experience every single day.
yeah,
And that amazes me at
yeah.
what I get to experience and take away with me this is why it's an addiction. It's an absolute addiction.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. And the other thing that
There
I
are worse
love, and
things.
what's that?
There are worse things.
Oh, it's great. It's a great addiction. And what I also am so appreciating, even as I hear you tell that story and speak it, and I'm imagining kind of going there with you in my imagination, is the other piece that I think is so powerful um, with forest bathing is they talk about, okay, you have your five senses that, we all talk about, but there's also the imaginal sense. So that sense of like,
Mm.
how can I engage in this environment in my imagination? Where is that fog? The imagining, like, and then also liminal space, which is the sense of timelessness, right? So I
Oh,
get to, yeah. So when you're in that, when you really allow yourself to be present and imagine and kind of almost reconnect with the child self a little bit, like
I
that
was
kind of
just going to
wonder.
say, sounds like what I used to do as a kid.
Yeah. Yes. And we unlearn it or we let it
Yeah.
go somehow as unproductive, but actually allowing ourselves that freedom to go there, to follow, to see where's the fox, where did it go, and engage the imagination. And time takes just a completely different to feel.
Heck yeah.
It could be a whole day or it could be 2 minutes and it could feel like both at the same time.
It's amazing. And then
Yeah.
there are days that I will go and with a totally different purpose. It could be a day where I feel like I've been pent up or I have frustration or something, and everything changes. There is a pounding that happens
Mhm.
in in all of my body. I can hear a drum beating. I can hear rituals happening, and then imagine what would it have been like if I love to imagine the world just disappears. And what was this like when I'm walking the same paths that native indigenous people walked?
Mhm.
And what were the rituals that they performed? And what were the drums that they beated? And what were the dances that they performed? And all in gratitude to everything around them. And in those moments, in the pounding of the footsteps, you eventually hear that give way to thank you. Oh my God. Like all of that pent up negativity was just literally absorbed, went
Mhm.
right through my body, out through my feet, into the ground. And I have to literally stop and look around and look at these humongous trees that I'm surrounded by and say thank you, because I just put all of that into your root system that you are now dissipating throughout all of you, because you're all connected and you're allowing it to transform and transmute out through your leaves back into oxygen that I get to breathe, that fuels me. Like that cycle. I get it. I get why people live up in trees. I do. I can't do it. I'm not that person, but I get it.
Yeah, 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 right. And what I also love about that cycle that's there is that we are doing it whether or not we're aware of it, even if we're
Yes.
indoors, right? All the time. As in like the just
Yes.
with our breath, right? We're
Yeah.
in relationship already. It's not like we have to go create it. We're just allowing the space to really connect with it.
I was
Mhm.
also thinking, like, if you're living in a space where you don't have a lot of nature or a lot of access to nature, there are amazing sound healings online. You can go to YouTube for God's sake, right? And if you put in Japanese forest bathing sound healing, you get the most amazing recordings that come up, and you can literally just Have that playing. Have that playing while you're working, have that playing while you're cooking, while you're doing anything. Just have that playing. I mean, that in and of itself is a really great beginning.
It is, absolutely. And it's interesting because our nervous systems are wired, right? Especially with like bird song or a lot of nature sounds. Like if there's predators around, that a lot of those sounds are going to go silent, right? Because they're
Yeah.
all right. And so there's an alert system and silence sometimes. Silence has a lot of richness too. But a lot of times people think outdoors is silent. It's like, well, actually, it's humming in a different kind of way, right? So when we hear bird song, when we hear those sounds, our biological system says we're safe, right?
Yeah.
There's sound, we're safe, and there's cues happening without us having to do anything that helps us regulate. And so when we're siphoned off from that, or we don't have access to birdsong or the different sounds in our environment, that it's it can be it's such an easy way. Open a window, put it on your, our brains are primitive in this way. They don't really notice the difference. Put it on your headphones. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
have, you can, if you're unable to go outside, just listen. And then one other piece I'll say to that, if you want to add another dimension to it, is we are designed to actually most of the time not pinpoint and focus our gaze. So we can focus, but a lot of our way that, we used to work in the wilderness when we lived in the natural world all the time was to be kind of scanning without necessarily hyper focus.
Mhm.
And then we'd focus in, but go back out. These days with the computers and devices and the work that we do, we're very focused, and that actually signals stress in our nervous system because we focus when we're ready to we have to notice.
Ah.
So as you're listening to birdsong or whatever it is, and if you want to listen to soundtrack of nature sounds, you might just take for a moment, doesn't have to be very long, just unfocus your gaze and
Oh,
notice the shift that happens. Yeah.
I mean, holy cow. So listener, if maybe you haven't noticed, um, Elizabeth is a little bit of a genius, and she is a psychotherapist and a mindful coach. So now what we're getting at is the science involved with all of these beautiful holistic practices, which is, my inner geek reacts to that with such excitement. I'm so appreciative.
I'm appreciative too to be talking to you. I feel like I'm getting a lot too.
Holy cow, we are sharing so much. It makes me so, so very happy. So, can we go back into your community? And if someone joins your community, the calming ground, what can they expect?
So, if you're joining, the 6-week reset is open to men and women and anybody on the gender spectrum. And that is much more of it's 6 weeks. There's a start and finish. We do live gatherings with replays, and that's really focusing on stress resilience and all different kinds of ways using mindfulness in 4 particular paths. If you are interested in a membership that's more ongoing, that's a group of anybody who identifies as women, and it is a community of like-minded women who are just supporting one another on their journey of really coming back to the moment, coming back to themselves, and just finding the ease there that's available to us anytime. If you're not interested in, or there's also one-on-one coaching, but if you're not interested in those options, you're welcome to get on my email list. I send out an email from the Calming Ground once a week, just with little tidbits. You're welcome to listen to the podcast. And those are ways to kind of stay tuned that are available and free, and might give you a sense of kind of what I offer, and hopefully something that is useful and generate some kind of inspiration and ease in your life.
Oh, I love that. It's like you're leaving a little pathway of nuggets
Yeah.
that people get to follow and pick up and hold on to and use. Oh, I absolutely love that. This has
Thank you.
been so informative. This has been so incredible, so wonderful. I feel like I hijacked the entire conversation to discuss forest bathing because it's my
Oh, no, that was
obsession.
great. That was great.
But is there anything else? Well, I mean, it also makes everything make sense. Like if that's your if that's your center and from which everything sort of unfolded and expanded, like it makes qigong make perfect sense now, right? And um for those who have not explored qigong, it's a beautiful movement meditation and one that I had tried and I was not comfortable. I was not comfortable. And I'll say that even though I was already a certified gyrotonic instructor, I was already working in the movement world, I was already using movement meditation, qigong made me slightly insane and frustrated me. And and I was very surprised by that. I was very, very shocked by that until I sat with it. And when I sat in that discomfort, I went, of course I'm finding this to be frustrating. Of course, because there is a slowness to the movement. There is thoughtfulness in every millisecond. There is mindfulness in every breath. And to find the connectivity from movement to movement and thought to thought and breath to breath. In there was my challenge. It was the in between that was my challenge. And when I actually leaned into that, I went, I get it. All right, let's give it another shot. And sure enough, I went, yep, I get it now. I really like Qigong. And
But I love that you share that, Lisa, because I do think when we're in different places in ourselves and our lives, like certain things are going to resonate more than others,
Mhm.
and that's okay too. Like so. In your frustration, there's wisdom there. I mean, it could be, this isn't a good fit right now. It could be, this is never a good fit. Or it could be, there's something to learn here. And if I stay with, right, this discomfort. And then it might be something you want to lean more into, or it might be something you want to stay with, gain the wisdom, and then pivot and go somewhere else. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of richness. And I'm really glad that you shared that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it like the things that I have learned throughout the years of really diving deep into self-exploration is just because something doesn't resonate in the moment doesn't mean that you can't come back to it. You can put it on pause, you can put it off to the side. I like to equate this holistic modality world as a buffet. And you can come and go and take what looks really yummy. You can try that. And if it's great, keep eating it. If not, throw it out and come back for something else. But there are certain things, and I've said this to my kids as well. There are certain things like Brussels sprouts and asparagus that are an acquired taste.
Mhm.
And I hated both when I was a kid. I hated them both when I was a young adult. I love them now. So there is something that happens within us that as we grow and as we change, we resonate with different things. And there will be things that you leave behind and things that you pick up again. And it's all a journey. So this winding road that we're on, to have beautiful guides such as yourself is it's life altering. It's absolutely life altering. So I have to thank you with all that I am for not just being here today, but for showing up in your world, especially for those of us who identify as women. And I'm really glad that you were specific with your words because I was going to ask if all of those who identify as women are included because it is a state of being. And I really do believe that it's the feminine that is shifting, the feminine that is opening up and becoming more and becoming aware and awakening to who we are and the greatness that we possess as a divine natural right. And I don't say that in comparison to men. I say that in celebration of all. Men, you are celebrated and you have a place of celebration. Women, you are celebrated and now you have a place of celebration. So for you to create that with such beauty, such grace, such knowledge, thank you. I have full body chills. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Well, thank you. So I really also appreciate just to offer this back, like what you bring to this conversation, because there's so much aliveness and vibrance in your experience that you bring that allows this connection. And then I think that resonates out, right? Like connection possible. So I appreciate this space to connect with you and
Thank you.
all your listeners. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, thank you. And I will have in the show notes for all of you listeners, I will have all of your many ways of getting in touch with you. But
Mhm.
would you like to just one more time state the name of your podcast? Give your website?
Sure. So it's the Calming Ground podcast. And thecalmingground.com is the website. And I've got a lot of like juicy freebies. And when you go on the website, there's actually a guided meditation freebie that you can get right away. So yeah, you're welcome to check it out, and you can find me on social media and all the things.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you. And one last question. Do you have any parting knowledge? Anything that you would love to leave with listeners? Put on their hearts right now.
Yes. So I think a lot of times when people come to me, they're coming to me with the idea, or even sometimes tuning into the podcast with the idea that they're striving um, to shift something, right? They're looking for more calm, more ease, or something different for themselves. And so, what I really want to offer here is it's tough to absorb, I think, but I really want to remind everybody, and I, including me, right, that we are good enough as we are. And the biggest step here is just welcoming our being right this moment as we are, as whole. So you are whole. And I just want to acknowledge that as we talk about these different practices, they're not to make you better, right? They're just to meet your wholeness in a different way. Mm.
Thank you. We're going to end it with those beautiful words. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here with me, listener. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. And if you did, please consider sharing it with someone else who may enjoy it. My intention here is to inspire, empower, and help us all learn. So be sure to click that follow button for more holistic tips, inspiring conversations, and Reiki-infused meditations. One more thing before you go. Check out the Instagram handle at nagarelife.